Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March the 6th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good on my favorite day of the week. Thursday treated me right, treated me well. Dare I say I'm even feeling close to 100%? I mean, 99 even. I might be keeping a 99 with y'all. But overall, no, really good. I feel like I'm in a good state of mind and being, which is nice for a change. Not filled with mucus. But work went well. Hell, I even got a nice compliment at work. One of my coworkers who actually started around the same time I did came up to me and they're like, Isaiah, you look different. And I was like, yeah, because I'm getting used to that now, right? And I'm like, yeah, I've lost a lot of weight, I've been doing, I've been working really hard. And, they're like, oh, you look good. You look awesome. And I was like, thank you. So that put a smile on my face. Overall, work wasn't too busy. Vibes were good. So we love that. Rolled that into the gym. And I did my first deadlift today. I don't know. I saw people talking about it online or whatever, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try that out. And I don't know. I definitely awkward. I always feel like a weird duckling. Like, oh, my form's so ass. I'm doing this wrong, and I'm sure I am. But it was nice to try. I think I'm gonna try to do that maybe more often. Because, it gets a lot of parts of your body just kind of get hit by doing a couple of deadlifts. So I'm like, all right, why not? What's the harm? What's the hurt? Plus, I hit a new PR lifting on some free weights. Now, I don't know if I'm going to keep up with that or if that was just a little trial thing, but it went down easier than I expected, which I love. That's the thing that I really do crave. That's definitely like part of the dragon chase for me is when you add weight and you get there and you make it happen. Like, it just feels like you beat a boss. Like, it just feels so good. So that was a nice vibe. We didn't have a coughing fit. That was cool. So yeah, like, today felt great. If I'm being, straight up with y'all, I feel good. So yeah, we won't blog out anymore. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's go ahead and get into some news. Trying to keep it short and brief today, at least on the yapping. You know what I mean? Gotta get to this news. Excuse me. From CNN. Supreme Court rejects Trump's request to keep billions in foreign aid frozen. Excuse me. A divided Supreme Court on Wednesday rejected the Trump administration's request to keep billions of dollars in foreign aid approved by Congress frozen. However, court did not immediately say when the money must be released, allowing the White House to continue to dispute the issue in lower courts. The ruling was 5-4. So that's very tight. It's a pretty contentious ruling. Very divisive but big in that regard. But at the same time, it feels like a hollow situation because of the fact that they just bounced it back to the lower courts. So essentially, Trump doesn't have to pay out like he should, at least in my opinion here. And he gets to keep disputing this in court until maybe, a judge says, okay, fine, you don't have to pay, actually. Yeah, Congress said that this is money that's allotted. Yeah, these things were already in process before you literally pulled the plug and said, hey, you don't get a paycheck. You don't get to finish any of this shit. It's over. You're done. Pack it up. Just move on. Let's read a little bit more. The order was unsigned, but 4 conservative justices dissented. Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. That put 5 justices in the majority. Chief Justice John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, Alina Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. So essentially, Roberts and Barrett this time are what I would say are the ones who are LARPing as like moderate conservatives here, saying like, well, Congress is supposed to have these powers and you shouldn't be able to override them like this. And we're going to go and make this decision this way. But once again, leaving it unsigned is just so lukewarm and, in my opinion, kind of useless. It's toothless. But I don't know. I guess you say, yeah, you put this in the win column, I guess. The majority noted that given a court-ordered deadline to spend the money last week had already passed, the lower court should clarify what objections the government must fulfill to ensure compliance with the temporary restraining order. In a strongly worded dissent, Alito wrote that he was stunned by the court's decision to permit the lower court judge to order administration to unfreeze the foreign aid at issue in the case. Alito added, a federal court has many tools to address a party's supposed nonfeasance. Self-aggrandizement of its jurisdiction is not one of them. Okay, but once again, Congress allotted this fucking money, dude. So I don't know. I don't really feel like it's the court saying that they're taking too much power or overreaching. They're merely saying that Trump is the one doing that, and that can't be the fucking case. But whatever, man. I don't wear the fucking funky ass robes. I did want to read this little quote part from Steve Vladeck, CNN Supreme Court analysis and professor at Georgetown University Law Center. The unsigned order does not actually require the Trump administration to immediately make up the $2 billion in foreign aid payments. It merely clears the way for the district court to compel those payments, presumably if it is more specific about the contracts that have to be honored, Vladeck said. The fact that 4 justices nevertheless dissented vigorously from such a decision is a sign that the court is going to be divided, perhaps along these exact lines, in many of the more impactful Trump-related cases that are already on their way. I would kind of add a little bit of a caveat to a disagreement to that part, maybe on some of these firing things, but I don't think on every single executive order that Trump has issued. And also, I do think that in a lot of ways, I'm going to use the Supreme Court as kind of like a filtering checkpoint kind of thing. Because I don't want to cover every single temporary hold or whatever ruling by a judge with any of these Trump orders and shit. It just becomes I get too bogged down there. We don't have enough slots. So I'd rather just use the Supreme Court as kind of like, okay, this is where it's at. Or if a lower court actually rules in favor for Trump, then we'll cover it then, because then it's done and dusted, right? At that point, that kind of just makes sense. So I know that, any of my, avid newsies, they probably are seeing this shit. It's like, well, why is Isaiah not covering this or that or third? Because it's still going to be in limbo. Whether or not a judge rules against Trump or not, it doesn't mean that the story's over there. We got to win there. No, he's just going to bounce that shit up to the Supreme Court. That's why, once again, this becomes very weird, because it's going to, get kicked around in the Supreme Court? Because I doubt he's going to back down on this shit. And he's just going to let it kick around until it gets back to the Supreme Court again and they do more litigation on it. I don't fucking know. But once again, I do think you should put this in the quote-unquote win column, I guess. The Supreme Court justice didn't just the supermajority didn't just immediately say, okay, we're going to cave and just do what Trump wants here. There is going to be at least a little bit of friction, but I say a little bit. It's not, it's almost to a point where it's is it even that warranted? Is this actually going to do anything? Well, only time can tell. And I think it's crazy because people's livelihoods are being stuck in limbo here. They're stuck in the fucking flux. Not just our employees that are working, here or abroad or whatever for USAID or whatever, AID, whatever the fuck you want to word it. But there were people, especially if we're talking AIDS or any kind of, aid work, charity work, it's all frozen. It's all stopped. And so it's well, how are these people going to continue to get help? Well, they're not going to get it from us, not this way. And not to mention the people who are working abroad aren't getting the rest of their fucking pay. It's just crazy to pull a move so blatant, so bold, and all in the guise of saying, hey, I'm trying to save America money here. Just fucking pay your goddamn debts. Pay what you owe. Isn't that an American-ass fucking thing? Or I guess not, because we have $1 trillion of fucking debt, so it really doesn't matter. We just kind of say that shit if we need the money. But if China comes knocking, who the fuck? Wait, whoa, chill. this is just it's bullshit to me how this is being conducted in terms of like just instantly freezing people out of their goddamn jobs. Say what you want about bureaucracy or how much you fucking hate government because you're such a libertarian or whatever the fuck, but like this is bullshit. Like you can close shop, but pay up. Pay the fuck up. If it was you in your job, wouldn't you want to see your goddamn last pay before you get fucking shit canned? Like, that's just the way the world fucking works last time I checked, right? Like, is America living without gravity? Anyway, I'll wrap this up there. I'll put a bow on it. And we got one more Supreme Court thing I wanted to cover. From ABC News. Supreme Court likely to shoot down Mexico's $10 billion lawsuit against U.S. gun makers. The Supreme Court on Tuesday appeared likely to block a historic $10 billion lawsuit against U.S. gun makers as both conservative and liberal justices raised concerns about allowing the government of Mexico to hold firearm manufacturers liable for cartel violence south of the border. Federal gun laws grant broad immunity to the gun industry, in part to protect companies from costly litigation that could drive them out of business. God forbid Smith & Wesson just runs out of money having to defend the fucking thing that they wrought. Like the fucking weapons of destruction that they say, hey, just sell it because it's fucking cool, right? Whatever. Just fucking pump this shit out. People love guns. And the thing is, it's not just an American thing, bro. Like, especially with the situation in Mexico. In Mexico, I'm sure I've said this before, but it's definitely worth fucking repeating. There is only one gun store in the whole country that you can go to. That's it. It's highly regulated. But where are all these cartels getting all their guns from? Well, they're hop, skipping, and jumping over the goddamn border and doing straw purchases and just getting whatever kind of guns they want. It's a free buffet here because the way we have it set up, it's so lax. It's so goddamn open, dude. But no. That's not our fault. That's actually a Mexican problem, along with the fentanyl. It's all y'all. It's your fault. And it's like, what is Mexico to do here? So essentially, Mexico saying, hey, we have no real recompense here. Let's take this to the Supreme Court. Let's take it and run it all the way up because there should be some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of compensation here to say, hey, you guys aren't doing anything about it. The gun manufacturers aren't doing anything about it. You need to put them on it. But essentially, I'm kind of just getting into riff mode here. Essentially, the justices are saying, well, like, we already have this immunity thing. Is it even right or fair for us to make the gun manufacturers own up to this? Even though, like, I think Brett Kavanaugh kind of uses an example, like, we don't do this with, like, pharmaceuticals or he exerted X, Y, other things here too to kind of make an example. But I'm like, but wait, pause. We did do that. We are doing that in terms of like with Purdue Pharma and fucking the Sacklers and goddamn Oxycontin. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we do regulate this. And then I start realizing, well, if it's an American thing we do, right? Like, maybe if you twist our arm enough, like, suburban white kids die from the fucking thing, then like, okay, stop, wait, well, that's kind of fucked up. Maybe you gotta pay out, you gotta do something here. But like, if it's an international thing, well, gosh, golly, gee, and to see that not just from the super majority, not just as conservatives, but to see Kagan do it as well, Sotomayor do it as well. Like there are examples on the liberal side of this where they actually say, we're gonna be pro-America on this one. To me, it does feel like justice kind of gets thrown out here, and I'm standing with Mexico on this. I think it's fucked up, but hey. I guess the silver lining here is that they got to get their case heard, and I guess you're supposed to golf clap for that and be happy, but that's not really anything. You're really kind of walking away with nothing there. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to mention the story. I know I should have stuck to the script a little bit more here, but it just felt easier just to kind of yap it out, riff it out a little bit, and that's why I cite the source. You can always go and read it yourself and hop in the comments and say, actually, dude, you got it wrong. Actually, well, fine, whatever. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. This is a story. Sometimes I have this visceral reaction where I don't want to cover it because it upsets me. It upset me to even hear the headline. It upset me even more when I pulled details from reading it. But it's important to talk about. It's not a nothing thing, even though in America, this is like just business as fucking usual, unfortunately. So let me go ahead and take a water break and we'll cover the story from the Associated Press. Oh boy. That pussy be Youngkin. All right. Youngkin grants clemency to a fired Virginia police sergeant who shot and killed an unarmed man. Days after a judge sentenced a Virginia police officer to prison in the fatal shooting of an unarmed man accused of stealing sunglasses, the state's Republican governor granted the fired officer clemency, meaning he won't have to serve further time behind bars. Wesley Shefflet, 36, was sentenced Friday to 3 years in prison after he was convicted of recklessly handling a firearm during the February 22nd, 2023 shooting of Timothy McCree Johnson. The jury acquitted him of involuntary manslaughter. Governor Glenn Youngkin granted Shefflet clemency on Sunday, removing his prison requirement but keeping intact his felony conviction. I'm convinced that the court's sentence of incarceration is unjust and violates the cornerstone of our justice system, he says as he interjects into the justice system. I think that's so cute. That similarly situated individuals receive proportionate sentences, Youngkin, a Republican, said Sunday. In his statement, Youngkin referred to the sentencing guidelines recommending no incarceration for Shefflet that were proposed by a probation and parole officer, which is routine practice in felony criminal sentencing, especially if you're a cop. Johnson's mother, Melissa Johnson, said she felt Youngkin's decision violated Shefflet's killing of her son. Why now do we find it necessary to vacate or not consider the jury's verdict? And to think that this is honorable and fair judge did not sentence within the guidelines that he was afforded to, Melissa Johnson said at a Monday news conference. I don't know where everyone's coming from. If it's because my son was black, or because it was attempted shoplifting, or because he's not here to defend himself. Which it's one of those things where that is a common fucking occurrence here in America. I really feel like there's a typical kind of cadence or pace to this if like pieces of shit governors are going to make this kind of move where they wait till like the end of their fucking term, right? And it's like, hey, like, you know, I'm not immediately trying to make this move here to be so bold and blatant. I'm waiting to the very end, and I'm just going to like say, hey, a part of the people I'm letting go. So at least this person has like some amount of time. And we're talking about a 3-year fucking sentence any fucking way. So the fact that Youngkin was like, no, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure this guy knows that he has the get out of jail free card. He had the license to kill this man. It was proportional. He stole the glasses. He deserves to die. That, to me, that is what is being said here. So what is the whole fucking rigmarole? Why do we go through the process of a trial if he was just going to be able to get off of it? Just so that we can stick the fucking title like, oh, well, he is a felon now. He did do the thing, and we're saying it. But it's like, no, that comes with time. That should come with time. You shouldn't just get the Trump package for this shit. But that's what it fucking is. Let's see here. Let me read a little bit further here. During the trial, prosecutors argued that Shefflet, then a sergeant with Fairfax County Police, acted recklessly when he shot and killed Johnson after a short foot chase outside Tyson's Corner Center. Shefflet and his team at the police department received a report from security guards that Johnson had stolen sunglasses from a Nordstrom department store. After identifying Johnson, Shefflet and another officer chased him into a densely wooded area near the mall, where Shefflet fired twice at the man. Shefflet testified that he shot Johnson, who was 37 years old, in self-defense after he saw Johnson reach into his waistband after falling. Okay. The dimly lit body cam video played during his trial shows Shefflet yelling, "Get on the ground," and then firing 2 shots at Johnson 2 seconds later. After the shots were fired, Shefflet immediately shouted, "Stop reaching." Bro, you already shot him. You already shot him, and now you realize, well, damn, I just did the fucking thing here. I just wanted to end this shit because I'm too fat and fucking lazy to fucking catch this guy. Or I'm too stupid to be like, we can let this guy go and just do investigative work and get him later. It's a fucking thing of sunglasses. But no. Let's fucking end it now. Let's just play GoldenEye. Boom, boom. But oh, fuck. I'm going to have to do so much paperwork. Oh, fucking, I got to do the internal affairs. You were reaching into your waistband. Like, that's what this fucking is to me, bro. Like, this dude is immediately trying to manufacture a fucking thing to justify him shooting a man to death over some goddamn sunglasses. which to Youngkin is saying, hey, that's proportional violence. It's fine. That's actually self-defense. It's so fucked up that we even went through this whole thing, actually. Let me just wand this guy off. He's actually fine. Let him go. Fuck that. Fuck all of this shit, dude. Let me pick up where I left off. During the trial, Shefflet testified that his motor functions were operating more quickly than I could verbalize. Well, what the fuck? You a fucking super mutant? Body camera video from officers that night showed people gathered around Johnson while he cried, "Hurry." Soon after, Johnson can be heard saying, "I'm not reaching for nothing. I don't have nothing." The legal battle leading to Shefflet's clemency came with twists and turns. Following the shooting, the police department fired Shefflet. Initially, a grand jury declined to indict him, but Descanto's office received court approval from a special grand jury to reinvestigate. The second panel indicted Shefflet last October. After his conviction, Shefflet's attorneys filed a motion for Bellows to set aside the verdict. In a January court memo, Bellows denied Shefflet's request, writing that there was sufficient evidence in the record for the jury to find the defendant guilty of his offense. Melissa Roby, executive director of We Black Blue, saying that sentence just makes me feel like I need to vomit, a police advocacy organization, said Monday that Shefflet's mother called her 3 weeks ago about her son's looming sentencing hearing, asking for help. Roby, who said she previously worked in Youngkin's administration, said she contacted Shefflet's attorney, who ultimately pioneered lobbying the government for clemency. Somebody's got to say enough is enough, Roby said, adding, these guys put that uniform on every day. They're there for your worst day. When is it time to stand up for them? Yes, we should stand up for them now when they're running through the woods, gunning down people for sunglasses. That's what we put them on here for. That's what they're protecting and serving. Nordstrom's fucking sunglasses. Who's going to stand up for them? Who? It's not going to be me. Roby stood with the crowd of reporters gathering around Descano and Melissa Johnson as they described their reaction to Youngkin's actions. While Descano argued that the governor was siding with a white officer that was convicted of a crime that ended in a black man being killed, Roby shouted, "That's not true." Melissa Johnson called back, "It is true. You're entitled to your own opinion, but keep it to yourself." So, before you comment, keep that shit to your fucking self. Because I've had that shit before. I've literally kind of like lost so much respect for people in one goddamn comment because they want to fucking defend shit like this. So keep it to yourself. It's some bullshit, all right? Anyway, I need a palate cleanser. I knew I was going to for this shit. So now that we're done Youngkin on the pussy, let's fucking take our last break and let's close it out with something cute, something science-based, scientific. Let's get genetic. Let's a little Ice Age, you know. I feel like I needed it. We needed it. All right, from CNN. Scientists created a woolly mouse with mammoth traits. Is it a step towards bringing back the extinct giant? It's tiny, but this lab mouse could have a mammoth impact. Love a good pun. With curly whiskers and wavy light hair that grows 3 times longer than that of an ordinary lab mouse, the genetically modified rodent embodies several woolly mammoth-like traits, according to Colossal Biosciences. The private Dallas company is behind efforts to resurrect the mammoth and other extinct animals. Colossal said its woolly mouse, would enable its scientists to test the hypotheses of, or is it whatever? It's a hypothesis, whatever, about the link between specific DNA sequences and physical traits that enabled the mammoth, which went extinct around 4,000 years ago, to adapt to life in cold climates. It is an important step towards validating our approach to resurrecting traits that have been lost to extinction and that our goal is to restore, said Dr. Beth Shapiro, Chief Science Officer at Colossal, in a news release Tuesday. Shapiro is currently on a leave of absence from her role as professor of ecology and evolutionary biology at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Excuse me. Also in the thumbnail, you see two types. You see like the normal, like stock lab mouse, and then you see the woolly mouse. So you gotta get a little bit there. Also, I love the BBC because they made an analogy that they said they look like tribbles. And Trekkies know what a tribble is. They're so fucking cute. And ever since then, I've been thinking about these little guys. I'm like, oh, that's so adorable. They do look like tribbles. It's like a real life tribble. We did it. Science is happening. Where's my replicator food, though? I need it. Anyway. To create the woolly mouse, Colossal said it had identified genetic variants in which mammoths differed from their closest living relative, the Asian elephant. The company's scientists then pinpointed 10 variants related to hair length, thickness, texture, color, and body fat that corresponded to similar known DNA variants in a lab mouse. For example, scientists targeted a gene known as FGF5, fibroblast growth factor 5, which targets the cycle of hair growth, creating longer, shaggy hair. They also altered the function of 3 genes related to hair follicle development and structure to create woolly hair texture, wavy coats, and curled whiskers, the company said in a news release. Other targeted genes included MC1R, melanocortin-1 receptor, which relegates melanin production in order to produce mice with golden hair rather than the usual dark fur, and a variant associated with changes in body weight. So I mean, something like this to me seems pretty crazy, like very like, pioneering. The idea that like you can move these traits that are in this now extinct animal into an animal now. Maybe it's a mouse today, but maybe it's an elephant in the future. And maybe it's a woolly mammoth today, and maybe it's a dodo tomorrow into a bird. But there are other scientists, and it's kind of, disputed, where they're like, well, you've got some aesthetics of a mammoth here, and that's cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have the actual, like, mammoth in a mouse situation. Like, you haven't confirmed that from any of this. It looks cool. It's very eye-catching. Let's see. The research outlined in the unpublished paper was technically impressive and the genetic changes precise and efficient, said Robin Lovell-Badge, head of the Stem Cell Biology and Developmental Genetics Laboratory at the Francis Crick Institute in London. My biggest problem with the paper is that there is nothing addressing whether the modified mice are cold tolerant. Through introducing traits that are apparent in mammoths, which is the justification given for carrying out the work, which Lovell-Badge said in an email. As it is, we have some cute-looking hairy mice with no understanding of their physiology, behavior, etc. It doesn't get them any closer to know if they would eventually be able to give an elephant useful mammoth-like traits, and we have learned little biology. Also, it's pretty fucking expensive endeavor here to do this. Colossal has raised $435 million since it was funded in 2021 by entrepreneur Ben Lamb and Harvard University geneticist George Church. And I would add that, like, they've gotten that much money and they, put it, and it's like, okay, so you're telling me you got super hairy mice. Okay, but that's not actually doing anything. But their defense is saying, hey, we have to kind of do these kind of things because it's very introductory or whatever. But also this gets a lot of eyeballs, right? So that hopefully gets us more money from more donations, and maybe it gets us closer to our goal, our dream. I mentioned the dodo. They also want to try to recreate a Tasmanian tiger, and then also a thylacine. And look up a thylacine because they got a weird little booty pouch for the little babies. Like they look like a little kangaroo. They look like little doggies or something, but like they also have that pouch, and that I was very unsettled by that. man, I don't know if you want to bring that back. I like the tiger. I love it, a dodo. I want to see a dodo make a comeback. That I always felt like they got a raw deal. They need to come back. We need to bring them back. But it makes sense to say, hey, you're not actually maybe even bringing these things back. You're just replicating certain traits and then imprinting or splicing them onto another animal. You're not actually doing that. You're making a crude, bastardized version of it, some might say. But maybe this is just my American brain. That kind of is cool enough. Like, it's close enough. Welcome back, Dodo. Like, I would think that would be cool. But that being said, a woolly mouse is at least cute. It's very adorable. And maybe one day we will bring back the woolly mammoth itself, and maybe the Tasmanian, and maybe the Isoline with the weird booty pouch. The sky's the limit. Anyway, that is where I will leave it for today. If you would like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. 3 ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any other socials. Please subscribe to the YouTube. It's a free action. It really helps out a lot. Follow on TikTok because it's still a thing. It's still thriving until, I don't know, Congress says otherwise or Trump gives up. I don't know, whatever. It's still a thing. You should still follow and, check it out there. It's the same thing as whatever you're listening on. If you're listening on Spotify, follow there, but it's all the same. But we appreciate, though, the great algorithm, the AI in the sky, Roko's Basilisk. It pumps my numbers. Just hit the button, leave a like, leave a cool comment. It really is appreciated. A nice comment. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a little booty licker. Don't, dude. Not today. But, do what you want. And you participating, I don't say this enough. I haven't said this in a while, but I really appreciate you just listening. If you've made it this far, it's 32 fucking minutes. That's crazy. I hope I've been at least somewhat entertaining. Hopefully you've been rocking with me. You've been, you've been feeling my emotion and you feel maybe the same. I don't know. Hopefully this was just a fun ride, but I appreciate you taking it with me. Okay? Like, bullshit money, clicks aside, fuck that shit. This is a cool experience, and it's what I get up and go to sleep thinking about. If it's, I realize I've boiled this shit down to gym and podcast, okay? That's what I give a shit about. That's what I'm obsessed about, and I appreciate you being along for this ride until the very end, brother. Like I'm a goddamn Marvel movie, and you want to get every little bit out of this. If you've done that, you're a real one. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.